got a very special guest on the podcast today. I have got Bridie from She Moves. Welcome, Bridie.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. As you know, we were just talking about earlier, I am a huge fan of the message that you're sharing out into the world and absolutely love the content that you're putting out for all of your beautiful She Moves women. So what I would like to talk about today, and for those people that are listening, is can you tell us a little bit about where you've come from, how you got to She Moves and where you're going?
Yeah, so She Moves started because I actually had a Pilates studio and was doing classes in person, and then, like many of us, you have kids and then things start to shift and change. I was doing a boot camp before that and classes at gyms before that, went out on my own, and then was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Especially after my second baby, I was like, okay, this isn't really working. And so then I started doing, as most of us do, a few YouTube videos and stuff, because I found the gym, you had to book the kids into the creche, and then you're like, oh my God, I just want to go now. I don't want to have to book, and yada, yada, yada. And then I felt that the YouTube videos weren't personal enough, or there wasn't any kind of accountability or connection. And so that's how She Moves started. And so that was a year and a half ago, and yeah, it's been a really fun time, and really it's been very great since it started. And then I guess, where is it going? Hopefully growing and just further building the community. I've always had this vision to make it a real space where women feel not only like they're getting fit and healthy and all of that sort of stuff, but also really feeling connected to other women, because that is, I think, what we all really want, right?
Absolutely. And look, I can certainly agree with you there. But by the time you start having kids and they're running around everywhere, and the sleep schedule, yours and theirs, is completely out of whack, what used to be your regular gym routine, and trying to fit in some kind of fitness and manage that work-life juggle or work-life blend ends up being a logistical nightmare. So I love that you've created She Moves, and I love what it's all about. And what I think is really great is how you mentioned that you wanted to build a community of women. And I think that's so important these days. Is, you know, there is that saying, it takes a village, and I'm a massive advocate for that, currently recruiting for some villages of my own, because my family is quite dispersed. But there is some real power around having a tribe of women, or, you know, it doesn't have to always be women, but a tribe of people around you that are totally getting what you're doing and where you're going. So I love that.
Totally.
So when you started She Moves, I mean, there's the mainstream gyms where you can go, and there's 24/7 and things like that. And you mentioned YouTube, which of course is a huge platform. But when it comes to being like really personal, so what made you decide that that's what needed to happen for you and for She Moves?
I guess that's what I craved. And I mean, my biggest issue that I had with the fitness industry that I found myself in as well was that it can be very intimidating. And even as a PT and a Pilates teacher and a yoga teacher, I found yoga studios completely intimidating. It's like, oh my God, I'm not zen enough, or like, I don't have beads on. And then KX Pilates and things like that are really intimidating, or you've got to be wearing a crop top, or, you know, when you're feeling sometimes like crap, but you know that a workout will make you feel better. I think having a place that you can come and go, oh, she just woke up, she looks like shit, you know, like,
she's the same as me.
Yeah, exactly. And like, isn't always, occasionally looks nice and active wear, but occasionally just is in like whatever I slept in. And so just something real, because I just think there's so much BS out there when it comes to health and fitness and what that looks like. And I mean, the biggest focus in She Moves is always how it feels versus what it looks like. And that is something that I try to every workout really kind of remind clients of, because I think we need that constant reminder, because, you know, Instagram and stuff is so overwhelmed with either perfection or this manicured authenticity. And then it's like, feeling good in your body isn't necessarily dancing around in your underwear. and it's not necessarily only eating green smoothies. Do you know what I mean? Like there is a huge gap between all and nothing or body positivity and diet culture. There's a big range in between those two places, and I wanted to be somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. I love that, and I think it's very true what you say. There's certainly a bit of the old Kool-Aid that's happening on curated Instagram feeds where everyone's so busy in the pursuit of authenticity that it ends up being everything but authentic.
Yes.
So I love that you riff and you go with it, and sometimes mornings are a hot mess, and I've seen some of your snippets where the kids come in, and that is hashtag real life, you know.
Very, very
interrupted. You've got
or I trip over, or I'm like, I'm not having a great time either, guys, but we will feel better in the end.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes you need to hear that, you know, not someone there like hardly sweating and not puffing, and it's a hot mess, but that's real life.
Want to make it look like you're working hard as well. So when you talk about feeling better, tell me, because this is a lot of your messaging and what you believe in, tell me, you know, sometimes you will wake up feeling a little bit groggy, and most people, you know, do, unless you're some kind of super whiz that jumps out of bed at 5 a.m. But tell me, what's your idea, or how you teach how you're going to feel? What is it? What do people do?
Well, I really encourage future pacing and thinking about how you will feel when it's done, because no one, like, as much as everyone loves to think that I wake up like, bing, hi guys, how you going? That is not the case. Like, my husband will vouch for it. I'm like, but once you rev up, once you've done something, and if you can focus on that post-workout coffee or that post-workout porridge or whatever it is, you just feel so much better, and you're not, well, the biggest thing is that you feel proud. I think there's this thing about lose weight and you'll feel confident, but I'm always trying to teach clients, because that's what I've learned, is show up for yourself and do the things that you know you should but really can't be bothered doing, but want to do. It's a complex, you know, we're all complex with exercise and stuff, but you do it and you feel so good and you feel proud of yourself, and that's where the confidence comes from, not necessarily your body actually changing that much, because you just feel better. So then when you feel better, you do more of the things that make you feel that way.
Do the hard stuff because you're worth it to feel better later.
Exactly. And I think there's this real, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, it's like we have this kind of mums or women's self-care is like, oh, well, I'm going to see my friends and we'll smash a cheese platter and bottle of champagne or 10, but we feel guilty or like we don't have time to show up and work out for half an hour 3 times a week. And what I'm trying to gently remind clients is like, you know, that's not true. You know, like we know that you can do both. And the more you do it, the more you teach the others around you that makes you a better version of yourself, because it really does, you know, when we are depleted. Totally.
Absolutely. It's interesting you should say that, because I had a bunch of work that I needed to do last night, but by the time I put the kids into bed and stumbled my way down the stairs after sitting in the dark, I was like, oh no, I'm too tired now. And so I watched Netflix for 2 hours, which I don't normally do, and then this morning I was like, I could have used that 2 hours.
I know, but then also sometimes you just really need that Netflix hit, don't you?
I did just have a whole weekend away with my girlfriend, so I was just being lazy. It was good. Yes, definitely had too much cheese platter, but we did go for it.
That's great. But this is the thing as well, in the not all or nothing. It's like we do all the things. Like you drink the champagne, you eat the cheese platter, you don't drink for a while, and you eat healthy things, like it's
moderation in real life, moderation for the modern
all
day
the
woman.
Things exactly. Totally.
I love it. So I know that you talk a little bit about this as well, around the stories that you tell yourself. So at Made for More, we talk a lot around getting your mindset right, more from a leadership perspective. But a lot of, I guess, the head junk that we carry around with us really impacts, our ability to get up and get going in the morning, how we feel in our clothes, how we look, what we eat, all of that type of thing. What are some of the stories that you used to tell yourself that you now realise they were falsies?
So many, that I'm not thin and fit enough to be a PT, that why would anyone listen to you unless you've got a six pack, like all that stuff. And before even my fitness, huge body image issues. I was a chubby kid, was told my whole life, you're big boned, oh, it's just puppy fat, you've lost weight, all that shit that you just think, like, why do grown-ups say that stuff to children? But anyway, so massive I did a lot of work around that and really trying to train my brain to be like, you need to just see yourself in the current reality and actually show up as who you want to be rather than who you kind of built this story of who you are. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I see it with clients so often, and I totally get it because I was there too, and I still am in some ways, of like, I'm not a gym person, or I'm not like a workout in my crop top person, or that's not who I am. And so then we think because of that all or nothing with exercise, then, I mean, I had it, but then I see so many clients with it of like, you can't be fit because you're not a fitness, like a gym junkie.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to weave in that mindset shift of like, we can be all the things, you know?
Yeah. So rather than the one or the other, it's one and the other.
Exactly.
So you can wear a crop top and you can have a cheese platter and you can be a gym junkie and also a super cuddly mum at home, you know, all of those.
Well, and just to be a fit, healthy person, you get to define what that means for you. Yeah. So that might just mean eating some more veggies or working out or just walking your dog. You get to decide, rather than feeling like we have to fit into this box of like what one thing is. And the beliefs about ourselves, I mean, God, it just is ruling our whole lives, basically. These deep-seated beliefs. And I've talked to women one-on-one, and just the things that we're holding on to from being kids, and then how we show up or don't in our life is just like, it's heartbreaking. But also when you see people starting to move past that, it's amazing. It's great.
It is amazing how much we're conditioned during childhood and how much we carry that through to adulthood. And more often than not, we don't even realise that it's a limiting belief or something that we've been holding on to that doesn't serve us. That's actually not true, and it's only true because we're letting it be true. Yeah, so I think it's so important, particularly around body image.
And true is such a like, I think we're living in an incredible age of Instagram, because whatever you want to see as a body ideal or a beauty, you can find it. You know, there is someone out there who will be showing up in a different way than you are, but with your body shape and your size, or a similar face or hair or whatever. And so you can go out and try and find it. And if we're going back to body image, I always suggest clients start to curate their feed on Instagram and stuff with like heaps more diversity, bigger people, smaller people, beautiful women, less, you know, like really well-dressed, stylish women, all the things. And then notice what comes up. If you're feeling envious, try and think about what that is, why that's making you feel like that. Or if it's making you feel uncomfortable, start to identify that too. Because I think, and we're seeing a huge movement at the moment with Black Lives Matter and stuff in diversity, but I think just seeing more of the things that we are not familiar with, or that we don't see as often, and deliberately curating that for a little while really does change your mindset. Even if it's following plus size models and being aware of what comes up for you in that. And if you have judgments or that makes you feel good, I find it a really interesting thing. And I think it's really important for women to do, because we've got so much of this kind of judgment, comparison stuff going on. Whereas if we can try and just look at everyone and not think about what they look like, but how it impacts us, that gets a good kind of, you know, self-assessment going on.
Yeah, but, that's really interesting.
It's hard work that people don't always want to do.
And I think it's one of those things, because of the way that Facebook and Instagram and the algorithms work is you start, you know, the pixel gets into it, but you start looking and seeing only what you've been looking and seeing at, the way that it all works. So I love that you deliberately go and curate your feed for diversity. I think that's going to write that down for a tip of my own. But it is amazing because you kind of forget that there's more out there, because you end up in this I guess
bubble.
In a lane.
Totally in a bubble. And my mum was talking about it because she has been doing it with American politics, trying to follow the other side and see what their views are. And she's like, it's horrifying, but it's good to know, and it's interesting to get the other side rather than just always getting your own beliefs fed back to you, because then that's how we change and grow, and, you know, growth mindset and all that.
And even you know, we're going to digress a little bit here, but with mainstream media, you know, everyone has an opinion, particularly in Australia, around Trump and those political views, but we only see what we're provided. You know, we're only privy to the information that comes from the media. And then I've got friends that are American and they're like, oh, well, it's actually quite different over there, the other side. So we actually only get fed. We only consume the information that we want to. But that's so true. I'm going to need to think about my own feed.
Yeah, it's just interesting to do as an experiment. And I cull all the time. Like, if I just think, this actually isn't making me feel great, I kind of think about why that might be, but then also just get it out of your life. You know, like, it can be when people are like, oh, Instagram's really bad. I think there are some elements of it, but generally it's like, well, just unfollow the things that you don't like about it, you know?
And particularly if it's stuff that you love, but it's also a bit comparison, you know, when you're feeling a bit of lack of.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Oh, that's great. So you have some young children. How old are they now?
4.5 and 2.5.
Oh, how fun is 2.5?
It's pretty fun. They are good. Keep me busy. Definitely have me constantly with my 4-year-old daughter. Like, oh my God, I'm like going to fill her with limiting beliefs, you know, in the darkest times. They're like, oh my God. Or like, did I say the wrong thing? I'm like, oh, okay. Just, my parents are like, okay, you got to chill. Just
apparently you've got till 7, so a lot of the conditioning for limiting beliefs happen until 7.
And also, I think, like, we're really in this day and age also, if I can guide my child and be like, you're going to have, everyone's got some shit to deal with. Whether you want to or don't, you don't have to. But if you go and talk to someone, a professional, they will be able to help you in your life. You know, therapy's been one of the greatest things and greatest tools and most freeing things I've ever done. So it's like, there you go. I can hand you over later. That's what I tell myself.
You'll be good. So can we go there on your therapy? So tell me about that. What stage in your life did you go, or did you recognise that you needed some external help?
Well, I was pregnant with my daughter, who I didn't know was gender's irrelevant, but I was pregnant with my first child, and I had a Pilates studio, and I was just feeling so held back by myself, and I was just like, this is so frustrating. And I knew that I was still had some body image stuff, and like, I just went and I heard about this amazing guy who's in Adelaide, and he's the best dude ever. And I'd heard about him, and so I just went, and then, oh God, I probably went solidly for a year, because it was like, my mum's a counsellor, so I'd grown up with a lot of that chat, and, you know, her making me listen to Louise Hay and all this sort of stuff. But I guess sitting down with someone who was totally objective, totally could validate. I think validation is the biggest thing, isn't it? It's like, just someone to be like, yeah, I see why you feel like that. You're like,
a different perspective.
Sweet, thank you. Awesome. I'm not mad. So it was totally like, you know, first world things, but we're in the first world. And
we're in the first world. This is one of my favourite things, first world problem, and this is where we are. We're in the first world, so that's okay.
Exactly. And I always think, I don't know if you'll put this in, but I always think of like, a young woman in a war-torn country who would look at us being all tortured and like, oh, I don't like my body and oh, I'm feeling insecure about this, and be like, can you actually just get it together? Because you've got all the resources, you've got all the means. Can you actually just enjoy your life and your healthy kids and just get it together? And so I always think of her and I'm like, get it together, babe. Just get it together.
You've got it pretty good.
And just, and so I found that really freeing and really helpful. I mean, God, so many tears were shed that just came out of nowhere. Like I'd sit down and be like, yeah, I'm really good. I'm feeling great. And he'd ask one question, I'd be like, so it was, I found it a more intense experience than I probably ever thought. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Really
Thank you.
Helpful.
Thank you for sharing that, because I've seen, you know, therapists and counsellors over the years also around pregnancy. I had quite bad anxiety with my first one, and then, yes, actually twice with, two times, but yes, certainly seeing someone and actually being able to speak to it with a really different perspective on and being able to look in was amazing for me, and just gave me a bit of a reality check. And I heard a really interesting quote the other day was, you can't see the label from inside the jar. And I was like,
boom,
there we are. That was the problem. Couldn't see where I was because I was stuck in the jar.
In it, so deep in it, exactly. And I think that's, even when we talk to friends, even then they don't know the spiraling that can be going on in your head, or just the frustration and the toing and froing and the shoulding and coulding and blah 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 blah. So sometimes just vomiting it out to someone, and then instead of them being like, no, you're amazing, no, oh my God, you're killing it on Instagram or whatever, you're like, yeah, I'm not looking for like a boost.
Can just sit next to me and hold my hand.
I just need something to, and that's why friends, so well meaning, but they don't have the tools to give you what you need. Then you need to just kind of get it out, and then someone to ask you deep and meaningful questions that you think you don't have an answer for, but they are there. They are within you, you know.
It's about the questioning.
Yes. And the long pause.
And what else? And the what else?
What else? No, it's really good. And I just think nowadays so many people, like, that it just isn't a thing anymore. Like, there's not that stigma around it so much. Like, I've got male friends in their 30s, like early 30s, that tell me about seeing a psychologist. I'm like, yes,
do it.
Job.
Yeah, it's almost a bit of a responsible thing to do now, isn't it?
I completely agree.
Yeah, when you grow up and be an adult, you can't know everything. So it'd be remiss of us to think that we could.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really excellent thing to do.
Also, we are on the same page there.
Yes.
So tell me, what do you think is the most important thing about mindset when it comes to, you know, your self-worth and loving your body? What, if you could just give one piece of wisdom to everyone in the world, what would it be around mindset?
I think, I don't know if this is about mindset, but I think that when it comes to your body and all of those things, knowing how you want to feel is like a really important thing, that 99.9% of the clients that I speak to initially are like, I don't know. I just know how I don't, or like, I know that this was shit, or I want to lose 5 kilos. But what about how you want to feel?
Yeah.
What does an ideal day in your life look and feel like? Who's there? What are you doing? And I think so much of that is drummed out of us, because it's like, go to uni, get a job, have kids, get married, daily grind, like, just, you know, do the things. And I am very much of that, like, what does your heart desire?
Yeah.
Like, what do you actually want, and where can you find little bits of that? When you go off and dream, where can you find the bits of that to bring back to your daily grind? So then it isn't as much of a chore, and you can find those moments of those good feelings, you know what I mean? And so I don't even know, I mean, that is mindset, but I think the biggest thing that people are doing is just starting to go when it comes to health, or like, I just want to love my body, or like, I just, you know, want A, B, C, D, or I should eat better, I should exercise, or I should get a better job. but it's like, but how do you want to feel? What will it look like? What does success look like? Where is this healthiness kind of, what's the end goal? And not the goal of the weight loss, but the feeling, you know?
Yeah. So begin with the end in mind. And I think that probably links back to your future pacing that you're saying, you know,
totally.
we can't actually go any direction if we don't know where we're going.
Yeah. And that's why so many women do just yo-yo, like, oh, I'll do Michelle Bridges for 12 weeks. And then it's like, but what's the goal of, like, what happens then? And and lots of people do have success with that, but more often I get people being like, oh, I've tried everything, I've done everything. And I'm like, let's start with the feelings first before the action, which is then very deeply ingrained into us to be like, but I want to go now, like I want to do the things. So it's kind of a bit of you got to meet people where they are while also trying to teach what you think they need.
Yes. What is the saying? Feed the ego and give to the soul.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that's a good one. So do you have a bit of a process that you go through with your clients when they come on board with you?
So we are starting to implement that and put that into place. So I have, this week we have started our first 5-day kickstart. So people come in through the kickstart, and that is making one commitment to yourself for the 5 days. So this came from me feeling quite depleted and lethargic for quite some time, and I was like, right, I just need to cut out booze, cut out coffee, and see if I feel any better, which is, like, for me, a very big deal. And anyway, I did it for 5 days and was like, wow, I actually got a blood test, all the things that I tell clients to do, and then I did it and was like, right, everyone has to do this. And it's not the coffee or the booze, it's the commitment to yourself, so that you get a quick win of that feeling of pride, that feeling of like, shit, I did something that I said I was going to do for myself, and now I feel great. Or I hated every day of it, but I did it. You know what I mean? Like, not to torture or restrict or deprive yourself, but to learn something and kind of to see what going without coffee felt like, but you did it. You know what I mean? So that is now in as an entry point into She Moves, so that you can, and hopefully people do, you know, eat some really healthy food for the week and take a little bit more, be a little bit more mindful about what they're doing for that week, rather than, and kind of make the time for it for the first week. So then you're building up from a better start point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then once people have come through the 5-day kickstart, then they join your online program. And what does that involve? What does the online program at She Moves look like, feel like?
Yeah, so it's a Facebook group, and I go live in there at the moment 3 mornings a week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 6 a.m.
Beautiful.
And so people can join live with me at 6, or they can do it later or whenever they want. And then so it's uploaded, and then they comment when they're done, and then I will always comment back. So, you know, the other day someone's like, first workout back after my baby, I did, you know, I got 5 minutes in before they needed a cuddle, so did some squats with the baby. And it's like, amazing, well done. So that you're not just this kind of, you don't just feel alone doing it. You feel like excited and like someone actually gives a shit that you're there, because I really do. And so then we've also got the membership space. So if people aren't on Facebook or don't want to go scrolling and all of that sort of stuff, it's all on the membership site. So it's quite easy to navigate now, which is great.
Awesome. And what is the website to find that? Or do people find you on Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is at she_moves_. And then the website is www.shemovesonline.com.au, which is a bit of a mouthful.
No, shemovesonline.com.au, and Instagram is she_moves_.
Underscore. Yes.
Awesome.
That's right.
So before we finish up today, what is your go-to for when you know how you sometimes get in a funk and you know you're in a funk and you know you need to get out of a funk? What's your go-to to get out of a funk?
Oh, probably some loud music,
Mm-hmm.
some trashy tunes.
Oh, trashy. Do you go swears or no swears? What's your genre?
What swears?
Like swear words, explicit.
Yeah. I mean, I love swearing. I probably wouldn't know. Mine would probably be like I've really gone quite trashy of late, like probably like something Taylor Swift or like just something really up vibe.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Which once again, those beliefs about yourself, back in the day I would have been like, I can't listen to Taylor Swift because it's just not cool. So okay, it's really great and it's great fun music. So yeah, just an up vibe, and also because the kids are around, they'd get annoyed if it was some like cool indie thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then just a bit of a dance. Like often I find if you're in a funk, it's like, once again, that future pacing. I've so many days with the kids been like, what would be happening? Why are there days when I feel really happy and great and like a cool, fun mum, but today I feel like a total bitch?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what would I be doing on a really cool day, like fun day?
If it was a fun day, what would I be doing? And then do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So music or like running around or playing hide and seek, even though you can't be bothered, always helps.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And your top 5 tips for any upcoming leaders, business owners? She Moves has been going for 1.5 years now. What are your top 5 tips for those that are looking to forge their own path?
I think if I can take my own advice on this one, is don't look at what everyone else is doing. Don't think you should be 5 years ahead when you're just starting out.
Yeah. Be
grateful and patient and have a deeper knowing that if you have a vision of something, it will happen. But patience, it's not my strong suit.
I'm right there with you. Patience is not.
It's not my thing. I think again, this is all advice I'm just giving to myself, is consistency. Show up consistently, and just, I think the biggest thing is whatever you think you would want or need is probably what other people, or whatever you're having a million conversations with your girlfriends about, means that other people are saying the same thing. So speak to that and, give value on that. But once again, these are all advice for myself to take.
It's amazing, and I think it's so true. Whatever you're talking about, there's probably other people wondering and looking to ask the same question as well. So thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. I will put the links to your handles and your website and everything into the show notes.
Awesome.
But thank you, Bridie. It has been awesome. Bridie from She Moves.
Thank you for having me.